Welcome to the Armani Talks YouTube channel. I'm your host, Armani Talks. In this channel, I'm helping you level up your communication skills. In this episode, we're entering the world of social skills to talk about why you gotta stop nitpicking. I know you nitpick, whether it's vocally or if it's silently. Either way, nitpicking, it's destructive. What is it? This is when we're breaking other people down into very small parts, whether it's a quirk in their mannerism, a bad habit that they have, a mistake that they made. We break them down into individual parts. We analyze it, break it down even further, and then we desperately try to get all these individual parts and try to stick it back together to understand the bigger picture. There's a lot of flaws with this line of thinking. This is a reductionist approach. A reductionist approach is how modern science is built, which is great for tools. But a reductionist approach regarding people is always going to get us in trouble. It's much better to have a holistic approach, a systems approach, so we're not breaking everyone down into individual components. Ditch reductionism for holism. Much more difficult than it seems. One of the reasons why is due to how the mind is conditioned. We gotta understand that the mind is not who we are. The mind is a tool. And just like any tools out there, the tool can serve a lot of value, and every now and then the tool has quirks in the game. So let's first understand this tool on a much deeper level to understand why this mind every now and then falls into the trap of nitpicking. By understanding this tool on a much deeper level, it's easier to do something about this nitpicking way, which is killing a lot of social opportunities. So this mind has a lot of different features, but we're going to be talking about two. One of the features is its capability of turning infinity into 5. What does this mean? What this means is that on a day-by-day basis, if we're weighing in human experience, we're processing an infinite amount of data consistently coming through us. Yet, we're not physically interacting with everything. This is where the information is being converted into 5, into vision, into aroma, into taste, into sound, and into sensation. This is when we're weighing in the human experience. So that's one magical capability of the mind. Infinity into 5. The next cool thing about the mind is the intellect. Intellect. That sounds like a word for smart people, so I could sit this one out. No, you could be the dumbest guy out there and still you have an intellect. What does this intellect do? This intellect, its main job is to grasp onto something. So let me give you an example of both these features of the mind combined. Let's say you're walking down a forest for some strange reason. It's extremely dark. You hear all this sound. You can feel the breeze. And it's very dark. All this information, infinite level of information, is being turned into 5 and it's being presented to the mind. You continue to walk. And as you're walking, you see something. You see the shadow. At this point, 2 options come in your mind. This shadow, it's just of a tree. Nothing to be scared of. It's just a tree. That's one thing that you're processing through your mind. Now the next thing that is processing is, no, you idiot. That's not a tree. That's a coyote. Run. Run ASAP. Otherwise you're gonna die. So at this point, the intellect is in a predicament. Is it a tree or is it a coyote? Tree, coyote, tree, coyote. What did I say? The intellect needs to grasp onto something. You're feeling brave on this particular day. So you continue to walk. What's going on here? What is this thing? And luckily for your life, you come to realize that your initial hunch was true. It was just a tree. And at this point, the intellect is satisfied because it's able to grasp that it's a tree and it's able to discard that it's not a coyote. This is a very simplistic way of understanding how we process information and the role that the intellect serves. I told you that the intellect can serve as a magnificent tool, or it can get us in trouble. And in terms of social interactions, the same process that I just described with the forest can happen. Let's say we're interacting with someone, the conversation is going extremely smooth, and suddenly this person says something that confuses us. And it's a sort of confusion that makes us question this person's character. You'll be surprised how often this happens. Modern day sort of identity politics is one of the reasons why you could be vibing with someone for an extremely long period of time, but when you get a certain fragment of their political beliefs, it can completely skew the perception. And as this perception is being skewed, there's this thing that's going on. Is this guy a tree or is this guy a coyote? Tree, coyote, tree, coyote. The intellect is thinking, what do I do? Big mistake. Because at this point, in terms of social interactions, we never lead with the intellect. The intellect is one of the finest tools out there in regards to reductionism. But in regards to holism, looking at the bigger picture, it's always the heart which leads the intellect. In situations like this, you can lead with the heart over the intellect through many different ways. Most self-improvement is trying to get us to lead with the heart. Even though nowadays a lot of different sub-niches are forming, the main goal is to lead with the heart. How can we do this on an extremely practical level? Well, it comes down to different things, but let me give you 3 right now. One thing is to ask yourself how you personally feel when others are nitpicking you. And more often than not, unless you're some sort of weirdo, you don't like it. So a little hack to turn the intellect down when it's nitpicking others is to start nitpicking yourself. Even though this seems destructive at first, which is the goal, because when it is giving you a very uneasy feeling nitpicking yourself, you're much less inclined to do it with someone else down the future. This is one way. Another way is through gratitude. Gratitude has this brilliant way of taming the intellect. You don't destroy the intellect because otherwise when you were walking, and let's say that actually was a coyote, you would have gotten killed. You want that level of dissatisfaction every now and then so you can grasp something. Just in terms of social interactions, we don't want the intellect leading the way. This is why gratitude, it serves as a lubricant that keeps the heart always leading the way. So this is another method to tame this intellect, which is a great tool, but can get us in trouble every now and then. And the third way to tame this intellect and lead with the heart is to go through pain. One of the things that I've learned in different public speaking seminars, as well as coaching sessions, and all this sort of information I've been able to gather, is that emotions, the human emotions, is very similar to the electromagnetic spectrum in regards to frequency. When we have fear, let's say we're extremely scared, there's a level of powerlessness which is being built. And through that level of powerlessness, we start generating a lot of internal feelings. Even though this does not seem good to the intellect is saying, this isn't good, this is bad. In terms of the heart, the powerlessness is needed in order to always keep the intellect in check. So fear, feeling a sense of sadness, this surprisingly always keeps us grounded. The greatest circuits out there, we always got to ground the circuit. It's called electrical grounding. And likewise, with people, we also have to do the same thing by not always just embracing the good emotions, but also leveraging the bad. Because by leveraging the bad, it tames the intellect, which allows us to adopt a holistic approach in regards to communication. Nitpicking is something similar to complaining. It feels good while it's being done, but afterwards, there's a thing called ripple effects. And the ripple effects never are positive. It will most likely lead this person to nitpick again in the near future. And you know what else happens? It conditions you to care more about other people's opinions. The person who tames this intellect is not only going to lead with the heart, but surprisingly, they're actually going to become smarter as well, because the intellect makes for a great servant, but not a great master. Make the heart the master and make the intellect its loyal servant, and then the mind is no longer something that we identify with. It's a faithful tool. Thank you for joining the Armani Talks YouTube channel, and I'll catch you on the next episode.